Today we're going to talk about the four forms that the United States Congress use to introduce legislation and the similarities and differences between the four. The first one is bills, and the second one is joint resolutions, and the third is concurrent resolutions, and the fourth is simple resolutions. The House of Representatives and the Senate use these in their respective chambers to introduce legislation. As these forms of legislation are introduced into Congress, they are assigned a number in the order in which they are introduced, starting at the beginning of each Congress term. So every 2 years, the numbers start over again. And the way the numbers are assigned is if it is a bill and it came from the House of Representatives, it will have the abbreviation H, R, and then the number. If it came from the Senate and it's a bill, it will have the abbreviation S and then the number. If it is a joint resolution that is introduced from the House, it will be abbreviated with H, J, RES, and then the number. If it's a joint resolution that initiated in the Senate, it will say SJ resolution. And for the concurrent resolution originating from the House, it will say HCONRES and then the number. And from the Senate, SCONRES and then the number. And if it's a simple resolution originating in the House, it will say HRES and then the number. And from the Senate, it will say SRES and then the number. So for the first two, bills and joint resolutions, those two are introduced with the intention of becoming law. And the difference between bills and joint resolutions is that joint resolutions are proposing an amendment to the Constitution. And then we have concurrent resolutions and simple resolutions. Those are introduced to provide sentiment to the public or to establish rules for their proceedings. And the difference between concurrent resolutions and simple resolutions is that concurrent resolutions means that these either public sentiments or these new procedural rules will affect the House and the Senate. And the simple resolutions are just for either the House or just for the Senate. And of these four, only 3 of them get voted on in both the House and the Senate. So the 3 that get voted on in both the House and the Senate are the bills, the joint resolutions, and the concurrent resolutions. And for the simple resolutions, that only gets voted on in whatever chamber it was introduced in, which if it started in the House, only the House will vote on that. If it started in the Senate, only the Senate will vote on that. So of these 4, the only form to get presented to the president are bills. And the bill will not get presented to the president until it passes in the House and passes in the Senate. And once the bill reaches the president, he has to approve or not approve of the bill. And also a countdown starts to where he's on a time limit on his decision. And that time limit is 10 days. So the president, once he gets the bill, in those 10 days, he can either sign it and make it into law, or he can veto it. So if the president vetoes it with his reasons, he will send it back to Congress, and then those who are present in Congress that day in session will vote again on the bill after going over the president's reasons. And when they vote, if they get 2/3 of the vote for yay, it will still pass and become law. So in those 10 days, if the president doesn't sign or veto the bill will automatically become law if Congress is in session. This was added to the Constitution so that legislation will not be lost by the inaction of a president. Now, if the president goes 10 days and doesn't sign or veto the bill and Congress is adjourned, which means they're not there that day, then the bill does not become law. Now, on joint resolutions, once they pass in the House of Representatives and pass in the Senate, they just become an amendment to the Constitution. So for concurrent resolutions, if they pass in the House and the Senate, they'll just become a rule for the House and the Senate. And for the simple resolutions, if it started in the House and it passes in the House, it'll become a rule for the House. And for the Senate, if it passed in the Senate, it will become a rule for the Senate. Now remember, Congress terms are 2 years. So any bill or joint resolution that doesn't pass within those 2 years is considered dead at the end of the term. And any concurrent resolution and any simple resolution that does not pass by the end of the term is considered defeated. So when the new term of Congress starts, if there's any bills or joint resolutions or concurrent resolutions or simple resolutions that they still deem important to them, they'll have to reintroduce that form of legislation and they'll get a new number. And that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.